what they're currently up to and if they're actually hot or ugly as shit. Before we get started though, we're so close to a massive Patreon goal of mine, which will result...
Ronin by Proxy.
Hi, you cyber sluts. We're doing something a little bit naughty today. No, it's not naughty, but I'm on the fence. This is why I'm making this into one video. So, I'm getting into Warhammer again. As you know, you can see by my channel, it's fucking everywhere at the moment. But, I want a 40k race, right? I want a little kill team. And I'm so on the fence right now. I'm either sisters or Tau. One's heretic, I know. I'm just going to get it in the comments. But I don't know which one I want. And I just need a little bit of a push, because every time I see something cool with Tau, I'm like, oh, look at that Gundam motherfucker. And then I look at sisters and I'm like, oh, that's just... I love the crazy religion shit. Don't ask me why. Like, putting loads of, like, random nuns on the battlefield with just shouting heresy. And that organ, was it like a rhino tank or something? They just put an organ dropped in a tank. That's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Like, honestly, if I did bother getting, like, sisters and that, I just feel like I'm gonna have, like, a transcript. Shit, you know what? I'm gonna go one step fucking heavier. I'm gonna get a stone tablet and etch it out and just read it. While they're having their turn, I'm just gonna fucking read it out to them, you know what I'm saying? That's how dedicated I would be. But anyway, it's Majorkill, obviously, doesn't need support, he's super well known and stuff like that, but I've linked his channel below, so I'm gonna react into his stuff about his lore. So, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Let's get it.
G'day, guys and gal. Warhammer 40k is a very
What a
masculine
nutter.
setting.
It
We
is
have
masculine.
roided up space marines, deliciously oiled demigods, and oversized man-children. This, combined with the influence of a very male-dominated company, means that the hormone of the day is testosterone. Despite this fact, our glorious neckbeard overlords have discovered a way to not only include girls in the setting, but make them flourish.
Sorry,
And
you should be
introduce
listening.
space nuns with guns.
Yeah.
To be honest, I find this is a totally appropriate way to represent women in Warhammer. They wear armor that genuinely looks like it protects them,
yeah,
unlike all
generally,
other female armor in male-dominated franchises. And they still do really cooked grimdark shit as well. The Sisters of Battle,
Was it
as well as the
Bolter,
Sisters of
Melter,
Silence,
and...
perfectly represent and display
What's the
female
last one?
super soldiers in the franchise, hence why there are literally no genuine calls for girl space marines. This also might be because there's like 3 girls that play Warhammer, but that part is irrelevant. Now just
Am I
quickly,
right in
before
saying,
all you
right?
lore
I
nerds
could be wrong here. Am I right in saying that the reason there's no women space marines is due to the fact that they replace loads of shit, and don't they have like loads of testosterone and stuff, and they just physically can't take the augments that like males can. That's the understanding I've heard. I could be wrong, but
crack it at me. Yes, I'm aware that the Adeptus Sororitas and the Sisters of Battle are not the exact same thing. I know that the Sororitas is the name of the entire organisation, and the Sisters of Battle are the military wing of that organisation. However, I will use the two terms interchangeably because it really doesn't fucking matter.
exactly.
Today we'll go
That's
over
what I
who
was
the
saying.
Sisters are and where
Man.
they come from. We'll also look at what they're currently up to and if they're actually hot or ugly as shit. Before we get started though, we're so close to a massive Patreon goal of mine, which will result, for better or for worse, in
always
production
noticed
of 2
that
calendars,
with the figures,
one
man.
featuring me and a hot naked chick, and the other one featuring custom Warhammer hentai, made by 12 distinct hentai artists with their own unique
Of
styles.
course he's making a new
So far, I
calendar.
have 3 of those artists, so if you
man,
are a hentai
everyone's
artist
just
or you
horny
know
and
one,
I actually
then
love
shoot
it.
me through the details
Oh,
and look
so
at getting
funny,
something
man.
commissioned through them
dude's a legend.
you. Only $1 on Patreon helps me out a shitload, and if you guys access to a lot of naughty Sisters of Battle,
here we go.
Brides of the Emperor, Adeptus Sororitas, Bolter Bitches, Nuns with Guns, or simply the
artwork's
Dominatrixes,
so sick,
are a
man.
relatively new faction that formed due to some religious people doing typical religious stuff, as well as a cheeky bugger exploiting a legal loophole. We haven't really covered much of the mid-30th millennium on this channel, because all the exciting shit is either happening now, or 10,000 years ago. But the Sisters were a highlight of it, so we get to learn a bit about it today. The Imperium, despite being a unified empire, is a very divided place. All the political parties, the Inquisition, the Administorium, the Ecclesiarchy, the Astartes, the Mechanicus, they all vie for varying degrees of political and physical power within the Imperium. This all came to a head when some dick called George Van Dyer was able to lie, manipulate and assassinate until he became the head of the Ecclesiarchy and the Ministerium, making him the most powerful man in the Imperium. He exploited
What a
religion to
shithead.
basically drive half of humanity into a violent, zealous rage. Overall, he sucked, but due to the Astartes and Mars, the other two most powerful organizations, not really giving a shit about people, he was allowed to continue his bullshit.
Oh my
The
god,
custodians
as if...
also didn't really care, as the Emperor was not directly threatened by a bunch of wacky bitches whipping
God
themselves
damn it,
while
man. They
jacking off
don't
into
give
the
a fuck,
Bible.
do they? They're just like
During
waiting.
this madness,
Just
George
waiting.
heard of a convent of hyper-faithful women on some planet. They were totally devout to the Emperor in every way, shape and form. As such, George wanted them to serve him directly, as it would
Of course
the
he
Emperor
did.
had his back. Using a cheap magic trick, George was able to convince the nuns that he was the chosen of the Emperor, hence they agreed to become his bodyguards. I'm sure he also used them for other things, but the writers don't really go there. They were trained within an inch of their life.
I wonder what the other
They
things are.
with the religious fervor so much that they basically made them unbreakable super soldiers. They were then equipped with Sermite power armor and bolters, hence making them a genuine match for Astartes, at least in range combat anyway. Eventually the galaxy rose up against Vandaya, and instead of fixing his ways or attempting to gain new allies, Vandaya declared all Astartes and Martians to be traitors and heretics, then locked himself in his palace with a couple thousand Sisters of Battle to protect him, and probably help him relieve some tension. Don't worry, baby, the Empress said it was okay.
Yeah, innit?
The Astartes were like, fuck this bitch.
That's the whole point. Like, religion is... You can just manipulate religion to whatever you want. I kind of dig how there's so much lore, man. Whoever wrote this is a fucking legend.
And drop potted straight at the palace. However, they were actually held back by the Sisters of Battle. To the credit of the Sisters, the Astartes literally couldn't get through to the palace, hence the battle was drawn out for months.
Damn.
But Majorkill, that's bullshit. How do the legendary Astartes struggle to beat some unaugmented chicks? Shut your fucking mouth, Timmy, and have some respect for the ladies. The Sisters of Battle outnumbered the Astartes and matched them in firepower, armor, and determination. The Sisters' faith in the Emperor also pushed them beyond normal limits, as they would just never give up. Some Sisters' faith was so strong that it manifested as a subtle warp powers to boost them even further.
Warp powers?
Eventually a custodian was
God
like,
damn.
this is fucking retarded, and led the famous Sister of Battle,
Oh, I can't say this these days.
and some of her space nuns to the Emperor. The Emperor was like, joke's over, go kill Vandaya, then meet me back here at night time to celebrate. Alicia was like, say no more, daddy. And then she went and killed Vandaya, hence ending probably one of the more autistic threats the Imperium had faced. After Vandaya was dead, the Ecclesiarchy was no longer allowed to field any men under its command, to prevent a rise up like this happening again. Hence they decided to instead field and grow the Sisters of Battle to be their army, as this was technically okay. None of them were men. Loopholes OP. Over the following millennia, the Sisters of Battle grew into their thousands strong and spread across the galaxy in convents.
Question. No men. How do they gain more of them? That is a genuine question. How are they allowed to have relationships? Like, is it like a... I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Do they go off planet, fuck shit, go home? That kind of thing? Is that a thing? I'm really intrigued.
They were a shared military force between different inquisitorial orders, such as the Ordo Hereticus. Basically, all of the factions of the Imperium that burn anyone who they think might have caught a whiff of chaos usually has access to the Sisters of Battle. Now, even though the Emperor did his best to try and make everyone become an atheist, his time spent as a quadriplegic has actually benefited from the opposite coming true. Due to the combined belief of countless people, the Emperor can do wacky shit with the warp, including making some people living saints. Basically, an extremely devout and brave individual will need to die in service of the Imperium.
Okay.
They will then be brought back to life with new paladin-like powers, such as morale boost, holy fire, invulnerability, etc. Some revive with small or no powers, like Drussus. When this occurs, all the religious nutters have a circle jerk and declare them as a living saint, meaning there are probably a lot of battles that involved this warp fuckery. However, the Inquisition didn't notice them, so they weren't given the superficial title of living saint, if that makes sense. The most famous of all these saints was Saint Celestine, who was also overpowered as shit. The living saints are basically greater demons of the Emperor, so they can't actually die. In saying that though, she has to obey similar rules, i.e. lots of faith and a lot of warp fuckery. She was once a humble sister repenter, who got absolutely repented to death, along with her Sisters of Battle. But she survived, and continued to fight the good fight. Not quite yet the literal angel of death we know her as, but definitely glowing a little bit. She then insisted that they travel to some frozen shit planet, where she recovered some extremely sacred and holy artifacts, namely golden power armor and the Ardent Blade. With these
Okay.
artifacts, she went from a level 30 thug to a level 100 mafia boss. She fought hard for the Imperium in this state, until she got Allah Akbar'd by some chaos dude who suicide.
Majorkill, honestly, you are so on a fine line right now. Fuck's sake, man.
While fighting it.
I didn't even know if I should bleep this stuff.
Just like greater demons,
Leave it, it'll be fine.
if the Emperor desired it, after a certain amount of time. And come back she did. She was basically the Sisters of Battle's version of the Sanguinor. Pop in, save the day, then fuck off. Eventually, she would stop being a little elusive bitch when Abaddon the shit cunt attempted to conquer Cadia for like the 13th time. She brought with her a bunch of Sisters of Battle and helped turn the tide of battle, even engaging Abaddon in a 1v1. An interesting point to note is that when Karl activated the Necron pylons and cleansed the warp from Cadia, the demons were banished and Saint Celestine was weakened, but not banished. This is due to the Emperor empowering the souls of mortals to create his warp entities rather than just making them out of warp stuff. Celestine would go on to stab Abaddon, causing him to run away and drop a Blackstone fortress on Cadia because he's a really sore loser.
What the fuck?
Celestine would then go on to help guide the survivors of Cadia
the
to
hell?
Gulliman, where they would then resurrect him. She then went with them to Terra and had a heart-to-heart with Daddy, and she swore she would fight with him to save the Imperium. And she did okay until she met Karl the Betrayer, who killed the shit out of her. But yeah, holy demon, she'll be back.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
say,
like how the
she'll be
Space
back.
Marines are separated into distinctive chapters, the Sisters are separated into orders, meaning players who use them on tabletop can kind of just make their own order if they want.
That's sick.
The 6 main ones are the Argent
That's a
Shroud,
checklist.
genuine space paladins who are actually pretty good people. Think of them as the salamanders of the Sisters.
Okay.
Ebon Chalice, Vanilla Hose who wear white and black armor, Sacred Rose who like to engage in tactical warfare instead of autistically screeching, "For the Emperor!"
Oh my
and then
God.
Naruto running at Greater Demons. The Blood Rose who are the Order who autistically screech, "For the Emperor!" and Naruto run at Greater Demons.
What is wrong?
Our Martyred Lady, the poster girl Ultramarines of the Sisters, the order that Saint Celestine is from, and then there's the Valorious Heart, who feel really bad about the whole Van Dyer situation, hence regularly punish themselves and go all fanatical. Now with all their faith and willpower, can the Sisters fall to chaos? Or are they just like the Custodes, Grey Knights and Sisters of Silence who cannot fall?
Surely.
Well, it turns out they can, but it's extremely difficult and doesn't happen often. The most famous case being Muriel.
Also, if that's the Slanesh fucking logo, I'm not sure. I'm in. She's my girl already.
Muriel Shabisinia, whatever the fuck her name is, who was taken prisoner by the Emperor's children. Now, rape jokes aren't really funny, but sadly for Muriel, she was taken by the Emperor's children, and well, it wasn't really a joke for her. After only a couple of days, she had embraced Slanesh, which I can only assure
I got it
you
right,
she was
boys. I'm
suffering
getting
from
there.
a severe case of repressed Catholic girl syndrome, as well as the fact that she was probably fed a diet of drugs and dick during her captivity. She then went on to go on mass killings and eventually killed some of her previous sisters.
Fuck's sake.
After that, she kind of vanished from the law. However, stayed she was hunting Eldar, as that is Slanesh's preferred meal. Other fallings don't really count, as it was either temporary due to manipulations or from straight
She's
up mind
cool,
control.
man.
I kind of hope Muriel pops up again at some
Innit?
point. 'cause she
I'd
has a lot of
worship
potential
that.
as a character. I also got hentai commissioned of it for my Patreon,
for
so there's
fuck's
some more friendly shit for you there. In recent times, the Sisters of Battle have been getting a decent amount of love from Games Workshop, with plenty of new models and rules to flesh out their faction once again. This also brings us to today's debate. Are the Sisters of Battle actually hot or not? Well,
that
just like
cosplay's
anything, you have fit chicks and
mint.
ugly bitches. The
God
reality
damn.
is, due to their strict diets, lots of exercise, and hectic levels of faith, they're as good as they can look. Now, you can't polish shit, but all of them are in great shape, so that's a tick. I think it just boils down to Games Workshop's inability to make a miniature model without an autistic facial expression. Overall, the Sisters of Battle will be the ones that do you
Somebody
dirty.
stop this,
They'll beat
man.
you to an inch of your life, and you'll love every second of it.
Literally.
With thighs that could crush watermelons, these holy thoughts purge the galaxy of its heresy, with nothing but bolters, power
I can
armor,
see
and
why you guys
unbreakable
watch
faith
him
in the
now.
Emperor.
Fuck's sake, he's
And that
so
does us
good.
for today, guys. All the
Right, that was a
lore
good
of the
start. That was a fucking good start, man. I do like the fact that I can kind of make my own order, you know? Fucking, that's a
G'day,
win, man.
guys and gal. You know, for one of the most despised and memed races, the Tau have been requested a lot, which is, I suppose, makes
Fuck's
sense.
sake.
People want to see the blue communist weeaboo fish people with suspicious orifices on their heads get torn to shred by
so
the most
cool,
ruthless
though.
Warhammer YouTuber. Now usually I always avoid the obvious and overtold jokes and memes about different Warhammer factions, but considering all the good ones have already been told about our anti-melee blueberries, we will slide them in and come up with a few of our own. Originally, I was going to go balls to the walls and fully commit to the communist element of the tower by making this video through Fiverr.
For the greater
I was going to get a bunch of
good.
writers and video editors to basically put this video together for me to see what would happen. However, Fiverr doesn't really have Warhammer lore writers, and I feel like the video would actually suck quite a lot and be an incredibly
Aw,
giant
Scott Hardy, I
experience for
believe in you,
involved.
bro.
So
I
that's
believe.
not happening. Now, because the tower are a bunch of dirty weebs, and this is the first time I can actually promote my hentai-ridden Patreon page with
Fuck's
some
sake.
kind of context. But Majorkill, hentai is Japanese, whereas the tower communist, and Japan has never been communist. Shut your chinga mouth to me before I get you hooked on opium. As the ancient sacred rhyme goes, if they yellow, they play the cello.
He must have been
Or for this video,
demonetized
if they
so
do,
many
then
times.
Their name is Chen
It's
Yu.
horrendous.
That doesn't make any sense. Enough, Timmy. Enough. Stop questioning me. But yeah, $1 on Patreon gives you access to a boatload of custom Warhammer hentai and helps
Oh
my
God,
demonetized
it's
ass
terrible,
out
man.
greatly. Today we'll cover who the Tau are and where they come from. We'll also take a look at some of their more well-known characters
look
and their
so
uniquely
sick, man.
naive and non-grimdark way of approaching the 40k
It's just
universe.
Covenant from Halo.
Let's get into
I
it.
think that's why I like him so
Unlike the
much.
majority of the races around the universe who have been kicking for millions or more years, the Tau are a very new race. 6,000 years ago, they were a primitive race of
Bioware,
raging,
mint
spear-throwing
game.
fishmen who, through the discovery of anime, quickly evolved into a spacefaring race with technology far surpassing that of the Imperium in a number of ways. It is common knowledge the technological evolution of the species is dependent on the creation of Japanese cartoons, and no one proves this more than the
Fuck's
Tau.
sake.
When the Tau were still cavemen, they were constantly at war with each other, split into 4 different groups. During the height of one of these wars, a group of extremely charismatic special Tau appeared out of absolutely nowhere and almost instantly convinced the entire race to stop arguing if subbed or dubbed was better, and to just unite over their love of masturbating to
I'm just saying
waifus.
subbed.
These Tau are called the Ethereals. It's not actually confirmed where the Ethereals come from or how they got so influential, but the theories have been pretty fun so far. The
Okay.
Tau united and created 5 distinct subgroups, or castes. These being the Fire caste, the warriors of the Tau who are more muscular and braver, the Earth caste, the builders and scientists of the Tau who are shorter and stockier, the Water caste, who are the merchants and diplomats of the Tau who are lankier and taller, the Air caste, the pilots of the Tau who are even taller with hollow bones, and finally the Ethereals, the big boys who mind control everyone. It is very, very rare and unheard
Why is
of
he
for
using
the
this
Tau to
image?
not be
Fuck's
totally
sake.
obedient to Ethereal, but it has happened. The Tau are
Wow,
united under
okay.
the philosophical
Didn't know that.
teaching of the greater good,
For fuck's
meaning
sake.
any action you take should be directed towards benefiting as many of other people as possible. To the Tau, this is more like a moral guideline. However, the humans who have joined the Tau Empire, being the dumbasses we are, have turned these guidelines into a religion, which has had some
Really?
unforeseen consequences. Whilst
Humans
the
in the
Imperium are a
Tau?
bunch of
Damn.
xenophobic Nazis, the Elder are a bunch of pretentious pricks, the Tyranids a bunch of hungry assholes, the Necrons a bunch of grumpy old men, and the Orcs just try to kill everyone, pretty much everyone in Warhammer is racist, other than the
Pretty
Tau.
much.
The Tau actively encourage peace and unity with the other races. Everyone is welcome to serve Chairman Mao, I'm sorry, I mean the greater good, other than Tyranids, Orcs and Chaos, who the Tau deem too American to ever be able to peacefully coexist. Now you might be like,
Too
Majorkill,
American?
this is a race of unified, peaceful, diplomatic people who only want the best for everyone. Hell, they even say you can hold on to your own religion and still join the Tau, as long as the religion is compatible with the pretty nice greater good.
Jesus, that's
Why do people
mad.
despise the Tau and always make fun of them? Well, just like any good question, there are a few good answers. To make it simple,
Range.
the American presidential election had a candidate called Mr. Yang. Now, Mr. Yang was an intelligent younger guy who had a really interesting and potentially amazing ideas for the country.
Where is he going?
But he
with this?
didn't engage in a glorious melee combat. In seriousness, despite potentially being the best choice to lead the country, people, especially Americans, aren't going to elect someone with the last name as Yang to be their leader. Yellow man bad.
Oh my
Another reason, which is
God.
probably less controversial, is that in a game where the top 3 themes are death, war, and genocide, a race of peaceful, bold cunts with vaginas on their heads aren't really going to compete well with a faction of 8-foot-tall, castrated super soldiers with skulls all over their armour.
True.
Before I continue,
True.
I will say this. If you are a Tau player, then good on you for supporting a Xeno faction, and continuing to incentivize Games Workshop to make more Xenolore. And if you give someone a lot of shit, beyond just friendly banter, for being a Tau player, then you are the neckbeard degenerate that society sees you as.
Fair play, man.
And whilst the
Fair
Tau might
play.
seem like the good guys, like actual real-life communism, they have a lot of problems when you go beneath the surface.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone's
Firstly, the
good.
nature of the ethereals is very mysterious, which in 40k means it's probably sinister.
Yeah.
Their uncanny ability to dominate other Tau's free will with nothing more than a themed body pillow indicates that the rest of the Tau society might be low-key
Fuck's sake.
slavery.
The wee
That's the
references
trade-off,
are on
really.
point.
Peace and harmony, but you become a commie slave. Now, the Tau are considered one of the main factions in 40k, but they're actually so tiny. The Tau Empire only takes up this much space in the galaxy and only makes up 100 worlds or so. For context, the
Damn.
Imperium boasts about 1 million worlds, so after some quick maths, the Tau Empire is about 10,000 times smaller than the Imperium.
Jesus.
Like, they're doing well for their size, but yeah, those are not big chungus.
I was going to
You
say.
might be like, how are the Tau still alive if they often
Innit?
fight the Imperium and have a much smaller military? And
Oh
the
my
answer is
God.
because the Imperium has bigger problems. There was a crusade called the Damocles Crusade, where the Imperium and Tau fought a war with both sides taking massive casualties. The Tau were able to hold the Imperium off, as despite the enormous power of mankind, that power is spread out significantly, whereas the Tau Empire is very tightly packed and localized. Hence the Tau can respond to threats to their waifus with immediate and full-blown military response. In saying
Okay.
this though, yeah, the Damocles Crusade
Oh,
could have grown
that
and
guy
crushed
being
the
cut
Tau
up.
like the worms they are. But the Imperium was under threat by the Tyranids, and as I said, that is a bigger problem than some blue bold chingers. The Tau are really cute in their naivety. The Tau have barely any connection to the warp, due to their souls being very dim, hence they cannot use psychic powers or warp travel. This is handy in the way that none of them get soul raped by demons ever,
I was going
and
to
they
say the
literally
gods
cannot fall to chaos.
wreck their
However,
ass.
this also means they have no innate protection from psychic powers,
But
other than
gun
just
down.
trying to snipe whoever starts glowing on the enemy team. This naivety continues as when the legendary Tau commander Farsight fought some demons for the first time, he thought they were just another alien race who had special teleportation technology, as they would appear out of portals in a fire to attack the Tau. Even funnier was when the Tau tried to experiment with warp technology so they could travel further. They made a warp gate and then went into it without a Geller field. Needless to say, all the humans on board the ship died very quickly and horrifically. However, the Tau and their pygmy souls were almost invisible to the demons.
Okay.
Then a massive
That's
Hindu
cool.
Ganesh-looking warp god fought off the demons and threw them back into real space. It gets even funnier when we discover that big blue warp entity was created by the humans who believed in the greater good as a religion, hence manifested their perception of it in the warp. That would be like teaching Australia communism, and in response we just start building Gundams and watch more hentai. Obviously the Tau were pretty outraged to find that their philosophy had been perverted into a warp creature, which I find pretty funny. Now that warp little incident tore a hole in space that made a portal to the other end of the galaxy. This would be neat if the Death Guard didn't see this opportunity to invade the heart of the Tau Empire,
Oh,
which they're currently
man.
trying to do. So yeah, the Tau are in a bit of a pickle with that one. Now as per their nature, the Tau have fought alongside many other factions in the galaxy. They fought with the Imperium against the Necrons and the Tyranids. They also
I'm sorry, look at that art. Look at that. That is a thing of fucking beauty, man. God damn, that's sexy. Sorry.
enlisted the help of the Dark Elder against the Tyranids, which ended horrifically for the Tau. Not because of the Tyranids, no, the Dark Elder helped them out with that. It was what the Dark Elder wanted in return which really sucked for our weebs in blue. The Dark Elder took a number of Tau as payment, and then merged them into giant abominations, and then let those abominations loose to kill the Tau.
What the
Yeah, very
hell?
grim, but also a good lesson.
I was
The
gonna
Tau
say.
absolutely despise glorious melee combat, mostly because they suck at it, but also because they have extremely powerful long-range weaponry. Even their Gundams aren't really Optimus Prime tier, so instead they employ the use of auxiliary races, mainly the Kroot.
I was
Now,
gonna
the
say
Kroot
the
are quite
poor
different from
crew.
the Tau. Whilst the Tau are well mannered and clean, the Kroot will eat your flesh. There's a scene where a group of Eldar Rangers are scouting, and they get ambushed by the Kroot, who just tear them to shreds and eat them, whilst their commander shits herself as she watches her millennia-old friends and sisters be feasted on.
Oh my
The
god.
Kroot also excel in melee combat, hence help plug up an obvious
I was
problem
gonna say,
that the Tau
yeah.
have.
Just throw the crew
An
on the
unforeseen
front
side
line.
effect of them not liking close quarter combat is how effective they are against the Tyranids. With long-range plasma weaponry and their use of drones, the Tau have emerged as a powerful counter to the Tyranids, so that's pretty neat.
It's just like Alien,
Now,
isn't
there
it?
are
Let's
two
face
Tau I
it.
want to talk about this video. The first one being Commander Farsight, the only Tau who likes using a sword. Can't really blame him though, the sword makes him immortal. Farsight, like all the other Tau, was
OP.
born with a really Asian name that I can't be bothered to say, and from day one was an absolute prodigy. Like if Tau had hair, this dude would have Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist tier hair. He had virtually no personality, being beyond the best at everything for most of his life, until he discovered the joys of close quarter combat. After non-stop promotions and
What a
killing
legend.
spider people, Farsight had developed his own methods of war, which created the first generation of non-pussy bitch Tau. He was finally able to test his new
Fuck's
methods
sake.
when a massive orc attacked a Tau planet. Farsight learned a lot about his enemy after the war, and by the end of it had basically mastered the art of war against orcs. He would take out their leaders, even play recordings of insults near the orcs secretly to cause rage and power
That
vacuums
is
within them.
brilliant.
The orcs would then tear each other apart,
What a
as Farsight
legend.
would then ambush them and blow them to shreds. Farsight was addicted to war, so when an ethereal rocked up and told him to evacuate the planet and let the orcs have it, Farsight wasn't too happy. Hence this was the first time he started to become disillusioned towards the ethereals.
I was going to say,
His
damn,
next big
what a
conflict was
legend.
against the Imperium of Man in the aforementioned Damocles Crusade, which was very educational for Farsight. He was able to fight their fleet and space marines to a standstill long enough for the Imperium to sign a truce, something the Imperium doesn't really like to do. All these wars had made Farsight a hero, so it was pretty awkward when he left the Tau Empire because he was sick of the Ethereal's questionable mind control tactics.
Shit.
Instead, fell in his own faction called the Farsight Enclaves. Tau who were free of the Ethereals and surprisingly flourished as they moved away.
I'm not going to lie, man. Farsight is just... If it did go Tau, I might just paint all of that shit Farsight colours. I need to look into this guy more, man, because he is rocking ass.
Away from being weeaboos and instead became otakus. Farsight continues to live to this day, acting as the hero his people need in times of severe strife, like when the Tyranids come. Next up we have Kitten's forbidden girlfriend, Commando Shadowsun. While Farsight lives on through being a low-key vampire warrior, Shadowsun lives on because she's frozen most of the time. See, Tau only live like 60 years max, so the writers have to think of ways to keep named Tau alive when the plot jumps ahead a couple of years here and there. Shadowsun was the yin to Farsight's yang, or maybe it's the other way round. I tend to avoid learning about Asian culture. While Farsight fought battles up close, Shadowsun was more of a hit and run kind of gal. That's not to say she couldn't fight up close though,
Guerrilla
as she was
tactics
actually
make
able to
sense
kill
with
a
guns.
White Scar's captain in melee combat. For context, the Tau are actually weaker and have slower reflexes than a normal guardsman, so to beat a White Scar's captain, the chapter of Marines known for speed is pretty insane. The issue arises, however, when Farsight left the Tau and she chose to remain, becoming their new poster boy, or girl, and hero of the Tau Empire. Equality, yay! However, despite her best efforts, she had her ass kicked by some assassins, and then the leader of the Tau Empire was assassinated, because Xenos aren't allowed to be awesome for too long, otherwise they might start selling models.
Oh my
Over time,
God.
she's become disillusioned as
thing,
well
really.
with the Ethereals, and even told Farsight that she'd been ordered to capture him, so it could be a nice little plot blurring up there. And that does us for today, guys. All the Tau lore worth knowing.
man.
I'll tell you what, something I've learnt while making this video
Tell
is
you
that
what, man. Majorkill. Killing it, man. Killing it. So good. His videos are so good. So, and if you enjoyed all of this, so now I might do some more for some different factions. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But as the video as a whole, the decision is Tau or sisters, and I'm leaning a little bit more to a certain faction. I think what I'm gonna do is I might, you know, the little community tab. You can have a little poll. I think when I drop this video, we're going to do a poll the day after. We're going to let it simmer and do a poll. I want to see what you guys think. I want to see, you know, you can whack comments down below. You just try and persuade me, you know, like out of the two, essentially out of the two. I'm leaning a little bit more to the sisters, if I'm honest, after this video, because the lore is pretty dope. So I'm leaning a little bit more sisters now. But things can change, and this is just a kill team mindset at the moment, so it depends what figures and stuff there are, so I've got to weigh up that. So yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to do a poll, see what you guys think, and then yeah, I might do a little YouTube short and decide, or I might just come back with a bunch of models and be like, yo guys, this is what I bought. But yeah, that'll be near the end of Feb, so yeah, let's tune in to see that shit. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Road to 1,000 tunes. Let's get it, baby.